challenges. So just welcome everybody to this conversation. And today we're basically talking about many things, relationships amongst this. And here's me just having a really good chat with my beautiful and wonderful girlfriend Crista. And yeah, just talking about what it's like being in a long distance relationship. My beautiful girlfriend just happens to be in the States, and I think for me it has its challenges, but we find a way to make it work, don't we, sweetie? And yeah, and what was it like for you being in a long distance relationship with this neurodivergent person?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. So what's it like to be in a long distance relationship with you? Like, I feel like I'm going to start from when we first started talking. And the reason I say that, because that's kind of how we started. We matched on Tinder. And I mean, in the beginning, we didn't talk. In the beginning, we didn't really talk like as we do now, obviously, because I feel like right now we do talk every day. So I feel like the past year, I feel like I've learned that communication is really key. So it is really challenging to be in a long distance relationship, not just for us, but for everyone who's in a long distance relationship, right? So it's really already challenging in itself. And I feel like communication is so important and being intentional.
Absolutely.
Because you gotta.
Yeah, that was.
I'm sorry.
No,
Because you
go
gotta.
on. Go on, baby.
Because you also have to consider the fact that we're also in different time zones, not just that we're distant, but in a long distance relationship, but we're also in different time zones. So I could be up and awake and you're tired. And I'm just like, I have all this energy. And here you are like, I can't.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's I agree. I think it can be the time difference is a big challenge. I don't think I ever quite realized just how big it was until about 8 months after speaking with you. We've been speaking for over a year now, and personally, from my perspective, I feel like I have spoken to you every day, especially when I was in Japan. So to explain some of the story, I kind of switched on passport mode before I went to the land of the rising sun. And when you switch on passport mode, you can match with anybody from anywhere. And I matched with this beautiful, beautiful lady in the States, and I thought, she's cute. And yeah, over 12 months, 12 months later, it's going all right.
all right.
Well, I say all right. You have to put up with this guy who never shuts up. As his few listeners, of course, know. To be honest, I mean, I don't think I can put into words just how great a time it's been.
I feel like we've grown. I feel like we've grown so much though the past year. Just like I guess like at least for me, I think I have because when we first started talking, I felt like I didn't really know how to communicate well. I felt like with you I had to. That makes sense. Because I felt like, because I remember, like, I mean, the first few months we started talking, we didn't really like always talk like, like every day. But I remembered from, I think it was either mid-February or somewhere in March, it was just now it's every day, and I felt like that. And it's crazy because it's just like, wow, we really could talk every day. Because I know some people said to me, like, Krista, you guys talk every day. Like, I can't do that.
I just felt back then you were my best friend, and like if anything good happened in my day, you were the person that I always wanted to tell, and hasn't changed to this day. We've met up twice. First in New York, and then you came to London, came to see where I'm from, and learned a lot more about what my day-to-day life was like as a neurodivergent person. So my next question to you is, what is it like handling a day-to-day kind of like task with a neurodivergent person?
So I mean, we've been long distance mostly, but I know we met up in New York, and then I stayed in the UK with you in your apartment. And that's kind of how I got to know you more, obviously. And so a lot of it was like, I'm still going to say communication. Like, I felt like if I've always had to like say to you, like straightforward, like I know, like, let's say tomorrow we're doing this, or tomorrow we're going to Oxford, and then we have to be on the bus at this time, 8 o'clock, we got to be there. Like, I felt like, because sometimes you never really tell me that what we're going to be doing. So I have to like purposely ask you. So I felt like one of the things was really just asking you all this, like asking you what's going to happen, like for this certain day. And then also, like, I kind of noticed that, like, I know you would tell me, like, baby, I'm gonna go in the room and get a stim, like stuff like that. You would tell me, and I'd give you your space, and which was fine because I'd do my own thing too. Like, I'd be in the room, I'd be checking my phone, or like looking at just like my emails and stuff like that. So I felt like handling day-to-day tasks with you. It. I felt like it still was smooth. Like, I felt like we get along so well. I feel like we really do. We get along so well. Like, even when we stayed in like like the hotels, like we would figure out how to like do things. Like when you met, like, okay, baby, you gotta come in this conversation.
Yeah, no, I think with the step by step thing, I think it kind of comes down to regularity and routine. If I don't do certain things in a routine, it can be difficult for me to explain in sort of like a step by step process of how we're gonna do a certain activity, like as you said, going to Oxford. Although another reason for that was I like to surprise you, and yeah, no, I for our listeners, I did not tell Krista pretty much anything that we were doing in Oxford. Krista's a big Harry Potter fan, and I surprised her with a tour, a tour around Oxford University, which which covered some Harry Potter filming locations. Would very much pick up going to Get Your Guide and going on an Oxford walking tour. Not very expensive, so I think there was mainly two elements to that. There was the surprise element, and then there was the act of doing something routinely, because being neurodivergent, I love my routines, I love my structure. I think that that's just a part of how my mind functions.
I kind of noticed that when we were not the hotels, but we were in Swansea. I kind of noticed this because, like, in the morning you'll have your routine of like eating breakfast for cereal for breakfast, and like that's like every day for you, right? And then for me, I'm just like my breakfast is different. Like I don't have cereal like how you usually have it. I'll have them once in a while, but it's not like go to
fix.
I don't really do that because, like, in my culture, I mean, rice is such a staple. So in the morning, it has to be rice. I mean, rice with eggs, rice with dried fish. It's called dio in my language, but it's dried. Rice with fish, rice with eggs. So I do notice your routine. Like you would have breakfast,
and mine,
and it's always yep, and your cereal, and I would have my own breakfast, which is fine. But I do notice that your routine is with the breakfast. It always has to be cereal.
Yeah, no. It kind of applies to. Well, it sort of applies to when we do activities. Although, in saying that, there are certain times where routines go completely out of the window, and that makes me think of our time in New York. We wouldn't always go to Levain bakery. We always made sure that we did a different. We always visited a different site. One day it was the Rockefeller Center. One day it was the Empire State Building, City Hall. Our first date.
Yes.
But like, and I liked that. I really, really liked that. I liked, sort of like not necessarily sticking by our routines, and just doing what we felt like in the moment. I have to ask, Crista, before our relationship, how many neurodivergent, autistic people with ADHD, how many people with those kind of conditions did you know, and could you tell us a bit about your understanding of neurodivergent conditions up to the point of either meeting or dating me?
Okay. Well, as far as like neurodiverse individuals, like I've only really known a few people who had ADHD. One of them was my really good friends, and then a few other people, they weren't like really open about it at that time. I don't know now because they moved to other places, to other states, so I don't really know like how, like at that time when they told me about it, it was just like, okay, like, but I was just like, okay, so what else do you like to do? Like, it was just kind of like a normal conversation when they would tell me. But I've never really met anyone who had autism. Like, I mean, I've heard about it. I've, read it, I've heard about it when I worked in the clinic, a few years ago, and we'd had patients, who had autism, but I don't have what do you call this? Like, it was the doctor that usually obviously treats them, but I just, check them in and stuff like that. But when I met you and we matched on Tinder, you actually put on there that you have autism. I remember. you put on Tinder. And I just remember scrolling through your photos, and you know how much I like the photos of you with the
I can't believe
so when
I can't believe I didn't put that I was autistic. I usually
you did.
oh, did
No,
I?
you did. You
Oh
did. You
gosh,
did. You put on there. You did.
I deleted it. So, oh gosh, I barely remember now.
You did. I remember you did. So
uh,
you
uh,
did put it on there, and then I remember, just scrolling through photos. But then you had this photo, that I like of you with the shield. It's a photo of you with the shield.
yeah, picture of Shield of me in
Yeah.
Edinburgh University, in Edinburgh Museum. That was a fun trip. But sorry, please continue.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, I was just like, oh, he looks cute. I'm like, so yeah, there you go, swipe right. And then I remember, like I said, I remember
So
you
it
mentioned, you
started,
said
ladies
you
and
had.
gentlemen. She found me cute.
So you did mention you had autism, even when you you sent me we started texting, like you sending messages through the app before you actually asked for Instagram and the other social media platform, Facebook. And I remember you mentioning you had autism, and then we were talking, and then at that time I really didn't know anything, so I did what any person would do, Google search. So I did some Google search on it, and I'm just like, okay, all right. It was more of like, because I did really like you. I mean, I do like you. I really liked
Thanks.
you then.
Cheers.
So then
Appreciate
I really liked you, and I thought you were really sweet. I thought you were really sweet. So I was just like, okay, so let me read about, what autism is really like. So I did some basic Google search, and just so I could understand you better at that time, you know. So I kind of did my just a basic Google search on it. But I did notice that at that time, like you were so excited about Japan, and you would say, I'm going to Japan on, I don't remember what day. I think you said October 21st, 22nd, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you're going to Japan, and then I told you I was excited about your trip and that was really cool. And then a few days later, you mentioned it again. And I'm just like, yeah, you told me. And you were like, I did. You were like surprised you told me. And then like a few days later, it was
Yeah.
it's like you forgot that you told me.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't believe I did that. Yeah, I can't believe I did
You
that.
have. I remember that. I remember. Okay, he probably forgot that he told me. And then
Either
since
that,
I,
or I was just so excited. Like
it
I
could be.
told you again. Like I just wanted to relive that moment. Kind of combination of those two reasons, probably. But
You could be. Yeah. I mean, I must.
that being an example of a characteristic or personal aspect, a personal aspect of myself that might stand out as neurodivergent, and uh, what kind of like other aspects, sort of like stood out to you, of my autistic self? Would you say, that makes any sense whatsoever?
Well, just going back to what I
That'd
was
be a
saying.
perfect interview, folks. So, yeah, no, please feel free to critique
Oh,
in the
well,
comment section, please, because that is the only way we grow and improve as a human being. But yeah, sorry.
so actually back to like when I was telling you, like I think you forgot that you told me about you going to Japan because you've mentioned it multiple times, and I told you, yeah, you told me. And then I remember like we were supposed to have our first video call, and we haven't really talked about it for like a good week, but I remembered it. I remembered it because I think I put it on my phone, like, okay, I've got to call, me and Rhys are having this video call, and I remember the date, October 19th. And but it was like a week of you not really mentioning the video call we're having. So the night before, I'm just like, you know what? He probably forgot we're having a video because he's never really mentioned it again after we talked about it. So I remember texting you the night before, and you were like, "Hey, I told you, I'm like, hey, are we still on for a video call tomorrow? And then you were like, yes. But then you were like, but I have to, like, I remember you mentioned you'd actually had to travel, to, like, remember you mentioned you had to travel to, like, I don't remember if you said it was your brother's place or something, because you have to, like, get yourself, ready
Yeah,
for
yeah,
your trip.
yeah. Um,
But I was just like, I wondered if he forgot about it, because
Another
he keeps
aspect of
forgetting.
divergent self, it can be quite difficult to it can be difficult to remember exactly what you are doing the even the same day. But I do remember that you were in Starbucks when we had our first
Yeah,
video call. Oh, sorry,
yeah, I remember that. No, I do. I remember that. I remember that day, because that was our first video call, and I thought we got along really well right away. I mean, even prior to that, because I know we did, like, other than texting, we did some voice notes.
I felt like
Like, so.
I knew you for years. To be honest, just chatting with you was just so easy.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's how it felt like for me too. It was so easy to talk to you, and we had some good laughs.
yeah,
So
we did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, no, I, we, we do, would it be fair to say that we don't, either of us, we don't really have filters, do we?
no, we don't. Yeah, I always apologize. I'm sorry, I don't have a filter.
Remember you telling me that, and I was like, "Yep, it's okay to be myself around. It's okay to be myself around her. She can, yeah, she can definitely, definitely stick around." And then I kind of like explained my whole um, dating. Dating paradigm, should we say, that like to take time to get to know other people, because had a tendency to kind of like rush into things in my past. And
Did you really?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, the amount of yeah, my there are many people who know me well who said that in my youth I was very quick to fancy someone, which is actually contrary to like hitting some of the other milestones, which I'm not going to mention on this podcast, because I do. There may very well be kids watching. So yeah, maybe when it came to hitting certain milestones, so it was shall we say a bit hesitant, but was very quick to very quick to fancy someone. And with you, I I just felt very early on that I felt like I could be myself around you, um, and that isn't and that is that's not easy. It's definitely not easy to um, definitely not easy to pass. And actually, I would say I felt um, I felt like our first video call confirmed it. But I kind of knew I could be myself around you when when we were um, when we were speaking, especially in Japan.
I
Um,
remember you called me when you were at Mount Fuji, at the view of Mount Fuji. I remember that you called me. You video called me. Yeah, I remember that.
and that was
Oh,
and
you
that was
called
the
me a few
first time I
times
met
when you.
Munch. That was
Yeah, yes, that
that
is
was
the
the
first
first
time
time I
you
met Munch.
met my daughter,
Yeah,
Munchkin. Yes, that was the first time we met. Yeah, because you just kind of called out of the blues, and I was with my daughter Natasha, and I was just like, you know what? All right, I'll answer the call. And Natasha happened to be next to me, so yeah. But yeah, I remember you did call me a few times when you were in Japan.
Yeah, it just solidified the place that I solidified that memory. The fact that I met Natasha, and just went outside and was looking at Mount Fuji. To be honest, and how much do you feel you're learning about neurodivergent conditions in the course of our relationship? Because as you know that this YouTube channel / podcast, it does mean a lot to me. And I hope. I hope you're not competing too much with it for my attention. But if so, I hold my hands up, folks. This podcast, it really, really means a lot to me to raise awareness of neurodivergent conditions. So, but yeah.
What I learned so far, well, I mean, like you're pretty much the only biggest have to go to. Like I felt like I had learned how to be a bit more patient because I know sometimes you need like time for like how like you have to wind down at night and like sometimes you're telling me like maybe I gotta go like just kind of wind down for the night and I'd still have all this energy and I'd have to be like patient and realize that no, it's not that he doesn't want to talk to me, he's just he's tired. I have to remind myself that sometimes, to be honest with you. I have to remind myself, no, it's not, there's nothing wrong with you, Krista. It's just, he just needs to wind down for the night. So I have to, like, sometimes remind myself on that. So, like, and I have to be patient. I felt like, like I've learned a lot. Like, I really did. I felt like I learned to communicate better in general because I remembered when not the first few months. I mean, the first few, like I would say around actually end of January till now. I felt like that was the point where I really realized that I'd had to really learn how to communicate because I was never really a good communicator. I was never really a good communicator. Even my friends, Bessie, when I would tell her like the things how I'd open things to you, and she was just like, "Wow, I wish I was like you because I just don't know how to open like that." And I was just like, you know what? It's something I just learned from being with you. Like I've learned that from being with you, and it's a really good thing because I mean, how would the person know if you don't say something, right? So I felt like like communicating with you. Like I've always communicated with you or told you things, and I felt like that really. I mean, I felt like the past year I've grown so much with in terms of communication, like having to communicate with you. But yeah, learning how to communicate better, and then also being patient. But being patient, and you like you said, like with you, like needing the time to like want that at night, and me thinking like, oh, he doesn't like me anymore.
Well, you you
Good.
you well you you learned that because of just how much of an amazing person you are and how kind you are. um and I could see, from messaging you just how kind you are. So like, I think you you yeah, you learn those things mainly because of how great a person you are, how great a mother you are.
Thank
Um,
you.
you are. I always tell you, you remind me so much of my mum, where you are around with Natasha, the way you're there for her, and um and I think that I think that was I think that is the I think that is the main reason why you communicate in the way that you do, and you've just got such a you've got the biggest heart I know.
Oh, thank you. Well, you do. You have the biggest heart I know.
Mhm.
Yeah, other thing
You
too that
kind
I've
of need
noticed.
that. I think you kind of you kind of need that. So yeah, no. I want to thank you a lot for coming on to the Neurodifference, and I want to thank everybody who's taken the time to watch this podcast. I could I ask everybody a favor who's watching this podcast, please hit the like and subscribe on YouTube, and hopefully we can continue learning more about neurodivergent conditions and making a positive neurodifference in the world. Thanks once again, Crista, for coming on the podcast, and I
Well,
will
thank you for having me.
some it's our pleasure, and I yeah, well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and remember, make a positive neurodifference in the world. Bye, everybody.
Bye.